Good morning and welcome to today's Aviation Subcommittee hearing titled Finding the Right Frequency, 5G Deployment and Aviation Safety. On January 24th, 25th, and 26th, Alaska Airlines canceled over 50 flights at Painfield, Everett, my hometown. Was it the thicker than usual 24-hour fog? No, planes fly in worse. Was it the Embraer 175 radio altimeter? Also, no, the airplane flies with that radio altimeter all the time. Was it the runway orientation? Was it pointing the wrong way? Well, that's a silly assumption to make. Was it the presence of a radio tower with a soon-to-be activated 5G transmitter? No, not just that. Unfortunately, the problem was all of those things, coming together in a perfect storm of technology. This true story about 5G and aviation safety shows that the problem we are addressing today has more layers than a Dagwood sandwich. So what do we do when we're faced with a complex problem like this? We break it into parts and we focus on basic principles. And our basic principle in this subcommittee is aviation safety. So how to ensure that 5G and aviation safety can coexist, in the words of several of our witnesses. What I hope emerges from this hearing is that the subcommittee has a firm grasp of what the telecommunication and aviation industry, the FAA, the FCC, and the NTIA, and others can do to anticipate future 5G rollout conflicts, avoid them, and what impact future FCC auctions may have on aviation operations, and establish a process, formal or informal, to proactively address these conflicts. In preparation for today's hearing, here's what I've concluded. That the aviation industry has expressed concerns about 5G interference as far back as 2015 at the World Radio Conference. I also found out there is actually something called the World Radio Conference. I also found out the NTIA, the federal agency responsible for coordinating spectrum policy, failed to communicate the FAA concerns through the formalized FCC process. I found that telecom engineers and aerospace engineers have the name engineers in common, but beyond that, they speak actually different engineering languages when they speak to each other and when they speak to each other at all. But I understand that is changing as well, and that's a positive outcome. I found that the industries, aviation and telecom, have misaligned cultures on this issue, with telecom being about clearer, faster communications, as its selling point. And aviation has aviation safety as its selling point. It's what gives the public confidence in flying. I also found out that this is not a federal government only problem. It is also an industry problem. So what can we do to help aviation safety and 5G coexist? Well, I think there's an imperative here. There will be a continued rollout of the C-band from the 3.7 to 3.8 megahertz on the spectrum, and eventually the 3.8 to 3.98, which will bring it that much closer to the 4.2 megahertz band where the aviation band starts. There's a potential for future auctions as well. And then there's 6G coming down, and it means different things to different people, and we don't know what it means for aviation safety. So we need to begin to understand that. I think we need to establish an informal or formalized communication between the FAA and the FCC moving forward as well, so that hopefully we don't have to have another hearing like this. I would like to think that perhaps in foreign policy, what they call a track 2 dialogue can be convened, which is an informal, non-governmental discussion, in this case on 5G, on radio altimeters, on next steps, that can be then used to inform the more formal mechanisms. Sort of sort these things out informally and then inform the formal mechanisms. I certainly look forward to other ideas that we're going to hear from our witnesses today. And as we move forward, maybe we can get this Dagwood sandwich down to bite-sized chunks moving forward.